I be honest with you for a second? You're not actually afraid of failing. You're afraid of succeeding and then losing it. Because if you step up, speak up, show up fully, and it doesn't work out, then you're gonna have proof that you're not enough. So what do instead? You stay small, you delay, you sabotage, and you tell yourself it's because the timing isn't right. I know this pattern intimately because I lived it for years. In today's video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to stop running from your own potential. Here's what nobody tells you. Self-sabotage doesn't just delay your goals, it delays your entire life. Your confidence, your income, your opportunities, and even the way you look at yourself, the way you view yourself. Every day you wait is a day that version of you, the confident one, the bold one, the one who speaks up, stays trapped within you. So today I'm here to help you break the pattern because staying stuck, that is a choice, and today you're choosing something completely different. Welcome to The Becoming, the series where we talk about growth, confidence, identity, and the quiet decisions that shape who you become. Not who fear keeps you stuck as, not who insecurity talks you out of being, but who you're becoming intentionally. Hi, my name is Ami, and this is episode 1 of The Becoming. If you're new here, thank you for joining. I created this series because I wanted to help women build confidence. Confidence through communication as well as practical habits. And if you're here, it's because you're ready to stop holding yourself back. So let me ask you a question. What is the thing that you keep saying you want, but you keep delaying? You think about it, you plan it, you visualize it, but when it's time to act, you hesitate. And if you're really honest, it's not because you can't do it, it's mostly because you don't fully trust yourself yet. And here is what most people get wrong about this. Most people think they're stuck because of a lack of something. Confidence, skill, experience, the right credentials. But here's the truth, most people wouldn't tell you. The real issue isn't that you lack ability. It's mostly because you're unclear. And when you're unclear, you freeze. Because if you don't know what the real problem is, you're gonna try to fix everything at once, or you're going to do absolutely nothing, and you're going to call it waiting for the right time. And I know this because I lived it for years. Let me tell you when this clicked for me. So I moved to the United States as a pretty young girl. This was well over 2 decades ago. So logically, I should have felt fluent and confident in English a long time ago, right? However, for the longest time, I held myself back from so many great opportunities. Public speaking, networking, YouTube. I remember being in meetings, knowing I had something valuable to say, and I would literally talk myself out of it. Not yet. Don't say it. You're gonna sound wrong. Someone is gonna laugh at you. And then I'll leave the meeting feeling smaller than when I initially walked in because I convinced myself. That I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't articulate enough, that my English was the problem, that my accent was gonna be laughed at. That's what I thought was holding me back, but that wasn't even the real problem. The real problem, I was afraid that if I spoke up and people judged me, it would confirm what I secretly feared, that I didn't belong. But here is what I had to learn. My voice, my accent and all wasn't a mistake. It wasn't something to apologize for or hide. It was given to me for a reason. And shrinking it wasn't humility. It was keeping me from being who I was meant to be, from becoming the best version of myself. And if you've ever avoided something because you thought you weren't ready enough, if you ever stayed quiet when you had something to say, you need to hear what I'm about to share because self-sabotage shows up differently for everyone, and it is important to know which type you are. Not all self-sabotage looks the same. There are actually 3 types, and most people don't realize which type they're stuck in. So I'm gonna walk you through them. As I do, I want you to pay attention to which one resonates most. Type 1 is the over-preparer. This is the person who's always getting ready. You're taking courses, you're reading books, you're watching videos, you're making plans, but you never actually start. You tell yourself that you just need to master one more thing and then you start. But here's the thing. You're using preparation as procrastination. Because as long as you're getting ready, you can't fail, and that feels safer. It keeps you in your little corner, in your bubble, in your comfort zone. Think about it. How many courses have you bought that you haven't finished? How many books are sitting on your shelf that you have been meaning to read before you start that thing? The over-preparer lives in the future, always one step away from being ready. Type 2, the perfectionist. This is the person who starts strong, then quits at the first mistake. You launch a website and obsess over every pixel. You rewrite the same email 12 times. You film a video 50 times and don't post it because it's not quite right. Or maybe you do post it once and it doesn't perform perfectly, so you convince yourself that it is not worth continuing. Here's what perfectionism is. Perfectionism is fear wearing a fancy outfit, because if you can't do it perfectly, you'd rather not do it at all. But you have to remember that growth is messy. It's awkward and it is imperfect. And if you're not willing to be imperfect, then you're not willing to grow. Type 3, the self-doubter. This is the person who talks themselves out of it even before they try. You get invited to speak on a panel while you decline because you don't have enough experience yet. You want to pitch your idea to leadership? You don't, because someone else probably already thought of it. The voice in your head says, who do you think you are? People are gonna laugh at you. You're not qualified enough. Someone else is already doing that better. So you shrink yourself, you stay quiet, you play small, and the world never gets to see what you're actually capable of. Here's what breaks my heart about this type. You're not actually protecting yourself from failure. You're guaranteeing it, because not trying is the only way to guarantee you never actually succeed. Now, you might be a combination of all three. I definitely was. Some days I was a perfectionist. Some days I was the over-preparer. Most days, however, I was the self-doubter. But once I understood my patterns, I could finally break them. And that is exactly what we're about to do in the next part of this video. Step 1 is to name your fear clearly and not vaguely, because you can't fix what you won't name. A lot of people say, I'm just not confident, but that's too vague, and vague problems feel permanent. So instead, ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid would happen? What do I think people would notice? What feeling am I trying to avoid? For example, if you want to ask for a raise and you're scared, saying I'm just scared won't help you, but saying I'm afraid they might say no and I'll feel like I'm not valuable enough, now you have something real. Or maybe you want to post on LinkedIn and you're hesitating. You're not afraid of social media. You're afraid that your coworkers might see it and think that you're faking or trying too hard. See how different those are? They're all fear, but they require different solutions. For me, I told myself for years that I wasn't confident because of my English, but when I got totally honest with myself, the fear was people are gonna judge how I sound and decide I don't belong here. Once you name the fear, you stop fighting a mystery, you start solving a problem. Step 2. Identify the actual skill gap if there is one. This step is critical because it protects you from fixing the wrong thing. Sometimes what you call lack of confidence is actually skill that you can train. And sometimes what you call lack of confidence is actually fear that's trying to keep you small. Here's the trap. If you keep preparing but never starting, it's usually not a skill problem. It's fear dressed up as productivity. So ask yourself, is this mostly confidence, mostly skill, or is it both? If it's a skill, what is the exact skill? Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to become a better negotiator, but you avoid those conversations. You might think of yourself as not being an assertive person, but that's too vague. Get specific. Maybe it's, I don't know how to counter offer without sounding ungrateful. Now you have a skill you can learn, right? You can research negotiation frameworks, you can practice with a friend, or you can write your counter offer ahead of time. That's solvable. For me, I assumed my accent was the problem, so I took accent reduction and public speaking courses to test that belief. And I learned my accent wasn't the issue. The real gap, delivery confidence and enunciation. Those were skills I could practice. And I need to say this, especially if you can relate to my story. Your voice doesn't need permission to belong. Your accent, if you happen to have an accent, that's a part of who you are. It shows where you've been. and that's a part of your story. That is not a flaw, it's a gift. And that clarity really saved me years. Step 3 is to create a simple solution plan. This is where most people sabotage themselves without even realizing it. Most people think that they need to make a 360 transformation before they start. But here's what I want you to hear. Overwhelm doesn't create progress, it creates delay. Your plan should be simple. One skill, one daily action, one resource. That's it. Say for instance, if your goal is to build professional network, your skill could be to work on your conversation starters. Your action could be to comment on 3 LinkedIn posts daily. The resource could be to listen to a podcast on authentic networking. For me, my plan was pretty simple. I read more intentionally. I wrote down new words. When I would read, I would write down new words that I wasn't familiar with. I listened to how native speakers structured sentences, and I also spoke out loud, even when I was alone. Those small actions done consistently created momentum for me, and momentum built confidence. And last but not least, step 4 is to practice consistently, not perfectly. And this is the step that most people skip because they're waiting to feel completely ready. But here's the truth. You don't practice until you feel confident. You practice until you build confidence. If you want to lead team meetings, but you freeze up when all eyes are on you, your practice isn't to wait until you feel confident to lead the team meeting. Your practice then is to volunteer. Volunteer to present once this week. And then next week, do 2 presentations next week. The goal is consistency, not perfection, because every time you do it, you're training your nervous system to be comfortable with attention on you. For me, I came up with a pretty simple practice. This is what I did. I read out loud every day. I recorded myself speaking, and I listened back, not to judge myself, but to learn what I did well, what I needed to practice next, and what I needed to improve on. That's how you grow without shame. And here's what happened. After a few weeks of consistent practice, I noticed something dramatically different about myself. I noticed that I stopped overthinking. I stopped overthinking not because I became perfect, but because I became familiar. I became familiar with discomfort. And when you're familiar with discomfort, discomfort loses its power over you. So let's recap what we just walked through. Step 1, name your fear clearly, not vaguely. Step 2, identify the actual skill gap, if there is one. Step 3, create a simple solution plan. 1 skill, 1 daily action, 1 resource. Step 4 is to practice consistently, not perfectly. And if you want a shorter version, the one you can remember when you're feeling stuck is this. Clarity removes fear. Skill builds confidence. Planning builds momentum, and practice builds belief. Self-sabotage only survives in confusion, and confidence grows in clarity. Before we close, I want you to imagine something with me. It's 6 months from now, and you're in a room. Maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's a conversation with someone new. And you speak up, not without feeling nervous and not with perfect words, but you do speak up. And here's the difference. You do not shrink afterward, and you don't overanalyze it 100 times in your head, wondering what other people thought. You just exist confidently, fully. That version of you, she is not a fantasy. She's real, and she's on the other side of the decision you make today. Listen to me. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you are not incapable. You're standing exactly where you're meant to be right now, and who you're becoming, that's not random, that's intentional. And becoming requires courage before comfort. The version of you who speaks confidently, shows up boldly, and lives fully, she's not waiting for perfection. She's waiting for you to start. This is the becoming, where we stop shrinking, stop self-sabotaging, and start showing up as who we're truly meant to be. I want you to tell me 2 things down below. Number 1, the fear that you're finally naming today. Make it specific. Number 2, What is the one step that you're going to be taking for the next 7 days? I want to see you choose clarity today, not later, not when you feel ready, now. If this video helped you, do me a favor, share with one woman who needs to hear this, because the women around you are watching. And when you break free, you give them permission to do the same. Next week, we're going to be talking about the identity shift no one talks about, because you cannot out-habit an identity that doesn't match where you're going. Subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss out on the next episode. I love you and thank you so much for being here with me, and I cannot wait to see you all in episode 2. Bye, guys.